It's June 20th. Happy summer. Welcome Kimos Sabis to the best, brightest, and bossest fans in the entire news and entertainment industry. The fans of 30 with Tony. And it's the love and things you do that have this happy crew coming back to you week after week. Even if we are robots, and Tony is so cheap, he squeaks. So let's get it on.
Well, hi, Kemosabe's. It's Tony D'Angelo. It is June 20th, 2024, out of Domini in the year of our Lord, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It's another edition of 30 with Tony. So happy to have you here. So grateful for you. So grateful for our music contributors. We've got some incredibly boss music this week. I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited for each of you who have come to me and told me how much you enjoy the show and you're circulating it to your friends and you're retweeting it and you're putting it on other posts and things like that. I encourage you that if you like this show to do that, because they will do, they being the powers that be, cough, spit, draw your own conclusions as to, where the power centers are, will do everything they can to censor folks like me and censor folks like George Colley and Jennifer Cherry and Bob Swick. So if you see something, get it out. Tell your friends to get it out, because it can only sustain with the energy of you. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The energy of you, or more particularly, energy. Our subject is you'll get a charge out of this, and oh man, you're really going to get a charge out of this, what we're going to do today. Now, there's really nothing secret here. If there are secrets, the secrets are cloaked in ignorance. If there is ignorance, the ignorance is engendered by our state-run media and our quote-unquote elected bodies. And it's our job here, I see as my job, to give you information that you can use that you can profit by and you can challenge others for. Now, that does not mean you go somewhere and start beating the crap out of them. I know you may feel that way. I know I have felt that way, but unfortunately, there is no excuse for that. Or fortunately, there is no excuse for that. Draw your own conclusions on that. But today we're going to talk about Connecticut government stupidity that you pay for. And the fact that you spoke up when you needed to speak up made this a whole lot better, where it could have been a whole lot worse. But if you don't continue to speak up, if you don't continue to challenge elected officials, again, cough, spit, you'll be in a lot worse soup, and we'll all be in a lot worse soup than if we did. Remember, they hate you. They hate you. They hate you for making their job difficult. So your best revenge is to make their job more difficult. Anyway, let's start with the share. And we're going to talk about, you'll get a charge out of this. Okay, here we go. All right. This, to you Twitter fans, this is not a quote from our esteemed colleague, Sal Clementi, on Twitter. This is the original Mark Twain. Real name, that was his pen name. His given name, I believe, was Samuel Clemens. And this is a man with roots in Connecticut. And the probably one of the best quotes I've ever heard. There's a lot of great quotes in government. We looked at, last week, I believe it was Dr. Kissinger, Henry Kissinger, about he who controls oil controls the world. And, these are things that your elected officials in Connecticut, unfortunately, right across the board, are too ignorant to point out to you. Or, your other elected officials don't want for you to know. My job, a part of my job is to tell you what these stupid old white guys were talking about, because, there ain't nothing new under the sun. It's the same stuff. They're trying to package it differently. They're trying to, how could I put it? They're trying to, Dr. Fred Price told us this in Los Angeles years back, that it's the same devil. It's the same damn devil. It's just a different year. So it's packaged a little bit differently and it's twisted a little bit differently, but it's the same stupidity. It's the same weak-mindedness. It's the same communism. It's the same Marxism. And the weapons against that are the same weapons. Maybe you got to polish them up and bring it to the present day, but you use them and you use them effectively. And the thing is, there is a biblical principle. I don't care if you read the Bible or not. I want you to read the Bible. I want you to have a relationship with God. But I think you should read the Bible even if you don't believe in God, because you should know the wisdom in that book. You should know what's in that book where you can make some money and make your life better. I'm going to be perfectly materialistic about it in that regard. But there's a principle that one can put 1,000 to flight and two can put 10,000. And we're going to look at that a little bit, that what you did, it wasn't politicians, these gas bags running around, in the Republican Party saying they did it. I mean, if anything, we're talking about the pushback on EVs. That was a people rebellion. And there's a lot of people, thank God for the Voice of Freedom, thank God for the Lee Elsey Show, thank God for the others on Twitter, thank God for 30 with Tony, because we brought that information to people and say, look at what these numbskulls and these bat brains and these idiots and, these climate change paralyzed Republicans want to bring to you. So, a little information with a little bit of shame and a little bit of, shall we say, pressure in the right places goes a lot of ways. I'm going to show you that in a moment. But back to our stupid old white guy, Mark Twain. And he said, and aptly whenever he said it, no man's life, liberty, or property are safe while the legislature is in session. And to those of us in the state of Connecticut, man, do we know that. Now, case in point. There was a push during the winter and early spring about an EV mandate, having, all the cars in Connecticut sold by 2035 to be electric vehicles, to get in line with the Biden administration and Bidenomics. and clean energy, and notwithstanding what it does to mine minerals for these cars and the genocide on African children and all of the other attendant pollution disasters. What do you do with the batteries when the batteries go and things like that? But shall I say, the powers that be in the world are into this whole thing of green energy, and they haven't been forthright about it. But with the information that you had, you pushed back, you made some people uncomfortable, and you made them very uncomfortable. I'm going to show you how uncomfortable you've made them. And it's you. It's not some freaking politician. It's you. Because not for you and not for other people in the United States of America, we would be buying into this whole sap crap app thing of EVs forever and ever and ever. Now, go back to 2020, and I'm not going to get into the whole, voter fraud thing, and the election really should be called into question, and the weird things that happen, and I can go on for days about that, and there are people who are studying that, but there was a good amount of funny business going on, and it's like you couldn't have said that you had a concern about it because you would be ostracized. And we had Republicans in this state saying legitimate. Yeah, right. Like what happened in Bridgeport. That'll be interesting as time goes on to see who throws who under the bus. Remember, Joe Ganim and Ned Lamont do not like each other. And we've got documented trails on that going back to when they ran for governor. I posted that on Twitter. I invite you to look at it. But all that said, I don't think you're going to have any honor among thieves when honor no longer becomes an issue. That said, I digress. But when you pushed back, you caused some people to become very nervous. Now, go back to 2020. The idea was Biden went to the big three automobile manufacturers and said, we're going to give you all kinds of money and all kinds of tax credits, and you're going to produce EV, and all the corporate slobs were there. Mary Barra, I don't care if she's a woman, I don't care if she's a Martian, she is a freaking fiscal incompetent and a serial incompetent. Same thing with Jim Farley at Ford. They all sat there and they lapped it up. They thought, the government's going to bail us out again, just like they did in 2008 with Chrysler and Bob Nardelli. How they put Bob Nardelli on TV these days and Fox, and they put him out, after he ran Home Depot into the ground, after he ran Chrysler into the ground. I mean, Fox, shame on you. But that all said, Chrysler was handing cars away because they couldn't sell them. That's how bad it got. And this is after Lee Iacocca had taken Chrysler and made it formidable again. Other people didn't like that and kind of changed things around. And there's a number of things for that. Lee Iacocca was not necessarily perfect, but he had some major things right for a number of years. That all said, it's now getting, because of you, not because of some turkey rear-ended politician, I've got Christian ladies in the audience, who pushed back and made things economically uncomfortable. How economically uncomfortable did you make it for them? Let's move down the line a little bit. Article here, Hartford Current, this would have been, let me give you a day on this. This was published on June 14th, 2024. The new hope for EV chargers after 10th CT meeting between, actually, this would be going to move my fat head, utilities and regulators. Let me tell you what's happening. King Governor Ned Lamont, the unaccountable, is after the utilities to have production for electric vehicles. But guess what? There ain't no demand for electric vehicles. Why isn't there a demand for electric vehicles? Because you, the consumer, unless you want an electric vehicle, I have nothing against somebody wanting an electric vehicle. I'm not particularly interested in this point in time, but because you're not going to buy the vehicles. Now, the dealers, as we've looked at, drank a lot of the Kool-Aid, and they're stuck with these vehicles that they can't sell. Hertz, the rental car company, can't even rent them to their clients. So it's a fight now, and this is typically what happens when a quote unquote, everything is going to be wonderful, everything is going to be great, isn't everything? And then something happens and they start cursing and yelling and screaming at each other, and you're the problem. Now, Eversource, our beloved power company, with a lot of command in the state over media, with a lot of command in the state over what happened in COVID-19, because of the people involved in advanced CT. You're not supposed to know that, but we put that together for you. And whatever consulting companies are involved. They're starting to get a little perturbed with the unaccountable here, saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And they're trying to get you to open your wallet and confirm them in their stupidity and in their error. Now, wouldn't it be great if we had legislators who, rather than saying, now the Republican Party has come to, well, this isn't right, as opposed to, well, we think it's right, but this is not the time. Where really, they should have and must be saying, stop this silly thing before it damages and kills us all and wastes more money. There's no courage and no forthrightness to do that. I'm sorry. Hate my guts. But when you do that, perhaps I'll respect you. That all said, there's also no, shall I say, gumption there to say, get rid of the commissioner of the DEEP, rework it, make it to the preservation of the environment rather than quote unquote dictating policy. I mean, we don't call for, shall I say, the abolishment and the retooling of the administrative state in Connecticut, which is the burden upon us, because every politician uses this as a, kind of a back pocket Charlie thing. Some commissioner. I mean, look at DOT. Look at the freaking inept DOT. Garrett Eucalito and Katie Dykes were over there saying, oh, look at these wonderful e-buses. I mean, they're Proterra buses, idiots. The thing is going bankrupt, and you're over there, only because I told you that, viewer and listener, you wouldn't know that. They didn't want you to know that. And they want you to champion them. And, DOT, dumb, disastrous operations in transportation. Stop the self-flagellation. But that all said, when you come down to this, it's a 90-minute meeting, and Eversource is lifting a pause it placed on the EV charger program. Why is there a pause? Because they're losing their damn shirt, okay? There's no great demand for these things. I drive on Route 44 in Pomfret. There's these two big flow chargers, and nobody's ever there. Maybe once in a while you see a car there. Now, if there was a demand for electric vehicles, even in a little town like this, you'd see a few people waiting, waiting to get their vehicles charged, but there isn't. You go over to Putnam to the Stop and Shop, there's a whole bunch of chargers. You go to the Pomfret School, there's a whole bunch of chargers. I never see people charging the cars. Why? Because there's no demand. People did the math and government didn't. And government bought into the whole suck-up trout of the Infrastructure Act and Bidenomics. And then now they're coming to us to pay the VIC. Your Eversource bill is going to go up. Why is your Eversource bill going to go up? Because of stupidity like this, because of nonsense like this. And, I would like to see one legislative stalwart coming against Eversource and coming against the DEEP saying, and the DECD saying, tear it down, get rid of it. It's killing us, because it is. But nobody ever does. We hear great speeches and we get all rah-rah'd, but no changes are fundamentally made because they don't talk about change. They talk about making a bad problem a little better. I'm sorry, that ain't good enough anymore. Now, Eversource is ending the pause on processing applications for electric vehicle rebates for Connecticut customers. So you got some very unhappy people here. And early Friday night, United Illuminating, who also put the EV program on hold, had not decided the direction it would take in moving forward, cough, spit, barf, according to a person familiar with the company's thinking or lack thereof. Now, let's look at the disagreement as the deck chairs are being arranged on the Titanic and somebody just lost a whole bunch of money in a poker game. The disagreement that has stalled the EV program, and I'm believing in the credibility of this article, and threatens similar initiatives, is between the electric utilities and Marissa Gillette, Lamont's appointed to chair the Public Utility Regulatory Authority, which decides how much the utilities can earn on the hundreds of millions of dollars they invest in clean energy projects and other sorts of grid improvements. Without getting into bloody, weedy detail, let me say this. When there ain't no money to go around, people start fighting for the scraps. You got that? That's just the way it is. It's that way in any program. It's that way in any business thing. And it's also between the anger and the finger pointing and everything else. They're trying to make a fire where there ain't no wood, there ain't no matches, and there ain't no rocks, and there ain't no kindling. That's basically what's happening here. Let's just glance down here just a little bit. And because there's a lot we got to go through this afternoon. And the utilities are complaining against the regulators. How about that? To me, the consumer, you're all part of the enemy, complain that the regulators under Gillette have slashed earnings to such a degree that their stock and credit ratings have fallen. Oh, didn't you think these are good people who want to help you and who want to make your lives better? They have investors, right? You can't fault them for having investors. Making it difficult or more costly to raise the money they invest in EV and other programs for investors and lenders. Yeah, investors aren't stupid. They ain't invested in this garbage. As both utilities have said, they're limiting spending to projects directly related to the reliable delivery of electricity. Now, we talked about last show, if you want to get energy, shall we say, real in this state, you impact the delivery of natural gas and nuclear greatly. Eversource don't care about you. Eversource doesn't care. The people in the legislature who are in Eversource don't care about you. What they want to do is they're there for their profit-making interest. That said, Eversource is now getting squeezed in this EV farce because you spoke up. I want to give you a pat in the back for that. You made some people in high places very nervous, and you disturbed the profit chain. You deserve to be commended because you're acting on information that they don't want you to have. And I thank God, I can do my best to put it together for you. Others can, but that's basically what's going down here. But if you're in the state of Connecticut and you're doing nothing but, drinking the Lamont Kool-Aid and watching state-run news and reading the commie liberal rag demo commie newspapers largely, and getting your information from your business information from Advanced CT and things like that, you don't get the, shall I say, the overall food chain for how this stuff comes down. And let me show you something. Donald Trump is now got his sights on Michigan. Michigan, it's like Detroit. Well, because you got a lot of disgruntled people in Detroit who was sold this EV bill of crap, and they're realizing this isn't going to work. It's not going to work on practical grounds, and it's going to be economically and socially unfavorable for them. And it ain't saving any pollution. That is a fiction in the minds of mentally disturbed, mentally ill legislators and consulting firms who are pushing that for their clients using ignorant politicians as a pawn. If we haven't done a good enough job on that, we need to do a better one. That all said, but it's all determined. Everything is determined by the money, honey. If you don't have the money, nothing's going to happen. So let's see what's happening nationally. Hey, how about that? Reason Magazine. This is May 30th, 2024. We won't get into the total weeds of this, but $7.5 billion in government cash only built 8 EV chargers in 2.5 years. You can do your chicken scratch math on that. And this is why they want math to be racist, and they don't want you to understand math, because if you understand math, you get right to the heart of government stupidity, and you get right to the heart of what these clowns are trying to pull over on you, basically. So it's like, well, the money went out. Okay, the money, and it's like, you could do this. You could build these chargers. Lamont could build these chargers. Now in Connecticut, you've got this whole thing of Lamont wanting to build the chargers. But the thing is, there's no takers. Why? Well, it's like these contractors aren't stupid, basically. And it's like, they're not going to build something where they may not get paid and there won't be a source of recurring income and things like that. So the money is going to sit there. But it's like, why is this? If the electric product were a good marketable product, competitive with the gas-powered vehicle, you would think there'd be a lot more demand. Now, I'll tell you something. If you could, people consider me the apostle of the fossil fuel car. Consider me whatever you like. I'm sure a lot of people consider me a lot of different things, some unprintable and not to be discussed on the program, because again, we have Christian ladies watching. But if you really come down to it, if you can give me an electric car that I can plug in like my phone, and I can drive over and over and over and over, and it's little maintenance, and I can have a sunroof, and I can have a back thing for the dog, and it doesn't look like I'm driving something that looks like a smartphone or something like that. I'm there. You got me. I have no great prejudice towards electric things. We bought an electric lawnmower, neatest little thing. The only problem is you got to charge it up once every hour. So even a lawn of our size, which is small by Pomfret, Connecticut standards, you have to do it over 2 days, because you've got to do it, watch it run out, charge it again. And so if you could do that, and not force this garbage upon all of us, you'd have a demand. It's been everything since time immemorial. I'm just going to get a sip of tea. Now, that all said, the $7.5 billion can only build 8 chargers. Now, why is this? Is this because Pete Buttigieg, is our Secretary of Transportation, is a freaking serial incompetent? Possibly that may be part of the reason. Is it because our government is screwing up once again? That may be part of the reason. Is it because there's no demand? Now think over here. They're fighting like cats and dogs. Of course, the legislature thinking, God help us all, but they're fighting like cats and dogs about what's happening. And they're arranging the deck chairs on the Titanic when it comes to all this. But something much bigger than them is taking place. There ain't no demand as such for building these chargers. And why is that? Well, market forces are one thing, but let's look at something else. And I'm just going to say here, no thanks, so you can see this. Equity. Ned Lamont, the unaccountable, is not a believer in equity. He likes equities, especially if they're in his family. But the equity considerations in planning this project here, and if you read the information on the Department of Transportation website, is all determined upon having the right racial makeup in order to put the project together. So you've got to have a certain number of engineers of color, a certain number of electricians of color, a certain number of this of color and that of color. And let me ask you something. I think Jesse Waters said this perfectly. Have fun finding a black electrician in Maine or New Hampshire or Utah. It doesn't work, because you don't have a of color population there, basically. So in the dreamland stupidity of Bidenomics, we're going to have this world of equity, and we're going to have clean air, and we're going to get rid of all the gas-powered cars. While we're at it, we'll get rid of all the nasty, dirty people they're either going to be white people, or they're either going to be the black faces of white supremacy living in single-family homes. We'll get rid of them too, and we're going to have this wonderful world. But the amount of thought which is put into this, it is going to fail. And you know about it. You know about it here in this state, because I told you, we told you. And where they're all going to be over here sitting there crying the poor mouth, trying to raise your guilt you out and raise your electric bill and all this other kind of stuff, you ain't going to see the chargers get built because the money's gone out, but it's got to be in equity. And it's I don't. And listen, to me, something like electricity. My dad was a stage electrician on Broadway. Not bad for a guy educated, maybe not even in the seventh grade. But he taught me early on to respect electricity because it could hurt you. And if misused, it can kill you. So I don't care about equity. I don't care what color the electrician is when he is coming to fix my power issue. I want it fixed. I want it fixed safely. I don't want my house going on fire. I don't want the fire hitting the propane tanks and hurting the livestock and hurting the animals. I don't want that. But yet your government has this little dreamlandy thing that you're paying for with your tax dollars. Think about that when you vote in November, that you've got to have equity, and equity ain't going to build no chargers. And you're going to have, numbskulls over here fighting over the deck chairs over the Titanic. And remember this, when these stupid policies were engendered, no man's life, liberty, or property are safe when the legislature is in session. Thanks, Mr. Twain. But when you look at that, got to have equity. Now, you want equity in your brain surgeon? I mean, you want equity in your automobile car tech? Do you want equity in your lawyer or your accountant? I mean, listen, sorry, there are only two colors. There is competency and transparency. There ain't nothing else. Stop fighting the stupid race war again, you idiots. You understand absolutely nothing. And to those of you in the legislature who ain't yelling and screaming about this, you're part of the problem because you're enabling it. You're allowing them to do it without criticism. I'm sorry. When does it come down to, I'm not one for getting serially ugly, but when does it actually come down to getting kicked in the teeth so much that you don't start yelling back with your last remaining tooth? I don't get it. I really don't get it. But this whole thing gets even better. You have idiots like our DEEP and Katie Dykes and all the lunatics saying, you guys, this respiratory issues in the city. Look, I don't want to see people respiratorily ill in the cities. Nobody does. But the emissions controls on gas-powered cars, I'll admit, they weren't good years ago, but they are good now. And these are the same morons that when the bridge went down in Baltimore, same people said, let's make New Haven the port. Let's have, you're going to have all these steamers coming into New Haven. First of all, you can't do it because it's not a deep water port. Anybody who has any sense whatsoever, has been around New Haven even a couple of years, knows that. And the other thing is, once you get the goods into New Haven, phonies that they are did not realize that. How do you get the goods from New Haven to, say, Elizabeth, New Jersey? You need a little thing called a diesel truck, right? So, or you're going to have an e-truck. And the thing's going to keep breaking down. I mean, this is how lunatic this whole thing gets. And this is why I get so irritated with politicians who aren't fighting nearly as hard as they need to against this kind of serial stupidity. This guy over here, stupid white guy, knew a lot. But when we go over to here, a funny thing happens on the way to economics, not legislative stupidity, but economics. If a business cannot make a profit, even the automobile business, which has been stupid for decades, and without government to bail them out, they would go out of business or would have gone out of business a long time ago. And the thing is, in 2008, two of the big three did go out of business. The GM you look at today is not the GM of the past. The Chrysler, I guess it's now Stellantis, that you look at today is not the Chrysler of, these were profitable corporations who actually did a lot of stupid things, but the market was more, shall I say, centric to them. I mean, the little jerky car companies like Toyota and Nissan and Fiat and things like that were, laughed at until these people came and started to, put serious competition against the big three and kick their butts. But that all being as it is, without the assistance of government, the big three would not have survived. But now it's gotten to be so bad because they took what the Kool-Aid jugs that Biden handed out and they ain't selling. So any business whatsoever, little, whatever you want to call it, economic, legislative, academic, socio-economico, political, religioso, probonistico, stupido lesson for you is that any business not having the dollars to be profitable in their endeavor will cut the line that they're doing if they've got any brains whatsoever, if they hope to live another day. And the automobile companies in 2021, 22, 23, and 2024, the domestic automobile companies are exceptionally dumb. Ford, probably among the dumbest. Now, if you go over to here, Tennessee Lookout. Dimming electric vehicle market may delay start of full production at Ford's new West Tennessee plant. State senator representing the company home to the new factory said instead of full production starting late 2025, it would like start in 2026, may not start ever. So basically, there is no demand for the vehicle, and Ford is looking at it. Now Jim Farley, who runs Ford, I mean, he's kind of like your typical CEO automobile executive serial idiot, is in a hard place between having to please Joe Biden and his shareholders, and he's trying to do a balancing act here because no one wants the product. They put all kinds of money into the product and there's no demand, there's nothing coming out. So they're going to go and start doing things where they have made a profit in the past and try to do what they did to do things as correctly as they have. Now, it's so if you go back over here to this serial stupidity, the morons in this state and in the legislature are like, well, let's have EV 2035 forever and ever. What are you going to do, numbskull, if they're not producing cars? Did it ever dawn on you? No, of course not. Just go and have all these people holding signs and stuff like that. You have as much economic sense as I do in my piggy bank, which I have somewhere that I had as a kid, probably has about 13 cents in it. But that all being as it is, your lovely government and your King Governor Ned Lamont the unaccountable, and your utilities like Eversource, not you, Mark, not right now, but your Eversource, like all sitting there waiting to cash in on this thing, is just like, well, we're looking to make some money here, and now we can't make the money, but we really don't care if you can't get from place to place and pick up your child and get your groceries and get to your job and things like that, because we're going to have this universe and we're going to go and we're going to build these chargers that nobody really wants, and we can't even build them because of equity. That's basically what's happening here. This is the level of stupidity that's going on out there, people, and it's the worst in Connecticut. Sorry, just the way it is. Got to tell you the truth. Got to tell you the truth. So with that all being as it is, what's happening with Ford? Well, Ford scraps the EV certification program, allowing all dealers to sell electric cars. Okay? What Ford thought they were going to do, again, I could tell you stories about the big three. My brother was high up in the car industry way back when, and it was awful then. It's a whole lot worse now from what we can see, because throw in, equity and lunacy and EVs and all that other stuff. Maybe it's a step up from when Henry Ford III Henry Ford II, I think it was the serial alcoholic at Ford, because Ford had to be run by a Ford, and literally, drank the company into oblivion, and would not take the suggestions of Lee Iacocca and would not let an Italian advance to the place where he actually had some economic control, not because Lee Iacocca was incompetent, but because he was an Italian. That all said, Ford had this thing of, well, we're going to have certified EV dealers and we're going to make somebody feel like they're really something buying this EV. And we're going to make the dealers invest in this program. So they'll have this never-ending, shall we say, parade of customers coming in saying, I bought a certified EV from Ford. Ain't I great? Now, certification, I think, started probably with Toyota and Lexus back in the 90s. The idea was to give you a car, you pay for it, but basically, you know, with all the bugs worked out of it and the remainder of the new car warranty and, you know, polished up and looking great and things like that. I've used that program and it's been very, very good to me. But that's where the whole concept came from. So Ford wanted to take that and say, we're going to certify EVs. Guess what? People don't want them. People do not want them. The dealers are screaming at the manufacturers saying, what did you turkeys do? What did you sell us? I'm laying off people because they want cars. Customers want cars that we can't give them. And we have this whole bunch of, you know, trashy EVs that nobody wants at all, basically. Now, again, I got nothing against EVs. Give me an EV that could do everything better or equivalent to what my 15-year-old gas-powered car can do. I'm there saying, you know, I mean, I don't care if it's powered on olive oil. It makes no difference to me. But basically, they're just going to try to sell the EVs that they can. And it's not going to be a good run. Billions of dollars here have been wasted in garbage, basically. A garbage program. The tax credits are so difficult. I was at a seminar at the Boston Tax Institute. I've got all the material, and believe me, you know, we all thought that this is going to be, hey, you got to, you know, you're in practice. You got to go where the trend is going. But you know, we were looking at this and saying, this is insane. This is how difficult this is. Well, it's not going to make any difference anyway. Nobody's going to want the stuff. So, but you're still going to have all these people saying, oh, there's a great future for EVs and we're going to do it. And the lunatics are going to come back in the legislature and with their legislative enablers. And the same thing is going to happen. And you're going to have to fight. And I'm going to have to fight once again because, you know, $7.5 billion builds only 8 chargers due to serial incompetence. You know, yeah, Pete Buttigieg, throw him in there. And equity. Gotta have equity. Gotta have equity. Regardless. You know, set your house on fire. Gotta have equity. Listen, it's not racial, right? If equity went to white people or Caucasian people as opposed to people of color, I would be saying the same darn thing. Competency and transparency are the only 2 colors, period, end of story. Don't talk to me about any other garbage. I'm not interested. So you would think, I'm just going to stop the share here for a second. You would think that what I've shown you is a total and complete horror, nonsensical, incredibly expensive. You're paying for it. You're paying in your taxes. You're paying in your electric bill. You're paying in policy. You're paying some stupid legislator's salary to proliferate this garbage. You're paying. You're paying for this. And they want you to pay more. Now, you would think, you know, I said it on the Lee Elsey show. I'm sorry, maybe I'm a simple man, but I have simple concepts. And to me, a Republican is somebody who, you know, likes fiscal responsibility, who's against, shall I say, government control of markets, who believes in low taxes, who believes in calling out lunacy for what it is, who believes in tearing down the administrative state. This is what I understand. I might have the same concept of government in an analogy to, say, a Volkswagen, which to me is a little Beetle-looking car that's like 4 on the floor and a little horn and, you know, that kind of thing. That to me is a Volkswagen. If you had a Volkswagen come in that looked like a Cadillac, that doesn't really equate to me. So this is my understanding of Republicanism, of what Republicanism should be doing right now against the horrific, nonsensical, inane, and garbagey mess which I have just shown you. But what do Republicans do in a place like Connecticut? What are they involved with? What are they actually saying, and what are they actually doing? Now, I've given you, I'm just going to do a little share here. I've given you the history of this. And, it's part of which, I believe is a history rewrite, that they were all actually going to show you an article from March 20th. They were all, quote unquote, accepting of this inane lunacy, this balloon that's a lead balloon that will not float. Where I was telling you, and several people were telling you that, this is nonsense, this is garbage. You need to push back. You need to make these legislators, you need to challenge them in what they don't know. And they were actually playing along with it. The Republicans were. And let me just show you one comment here. And there's others. You can pick them up. There wasn't anybody telling you what I'm telling you and what others are telling you. Article actually, to give credit, this is Molly Ingram of Connecticut News. I believe this is WSHU. And here's a comment from Republican Senator Ryan Fazio talking about the bill. And this is to mandate electric vehicles. I think electric vehicles are a valuable asset, a valuable innovation in our economy, and especially for our environment. But I don't see this legislation as going to be an asset to our state and our residents. I'm worried it's going to be a pretext to more mandates, higher costs, and a less reliable grid. Now, that is not an incorrect response, but pardon the term, it's a namby-pamby response, because you've got serial lunacy going on here, Ryan. You've got nut jobs fighting in the higher echelons of government, trying to carve up the last hot dog. You've got a government that can't function and build these chargers because of equity. And you've got manufacturers that can't manufacture. This was, and please don't give me the thing of, oh, we didn't know any of that. No, you knew it. I told you about it. I told you about it. And what you should have been doing at that point, and you're not doing it now, is stop the lunacy, stop the nonsense, remove the head of the CTDEEP, Katie Dykes, and let's get to some real energy policy in this state, which is the Trump energy policy of frack, natural gas, and drill, baby, drill, basically. And that's what it is. And that will keep energy costs down. But you see, they're not going to do that. I mean, this is going to go, believe it or not, this is going viral right now throughout the country. But your Connecticut Republican wants to be, quote unquote, like the wife having a cocktail at the bar next to her alcoholic husband, who's had the equivalents of 5 bottles of scotch, telling him it's bad to drink that much, instead of dragging him out by the collar and saying, you ain't coming back in this thing, stop ruining our lives. These lunatics are ruining our lives with this nonsense. And it's once again left to the citizen to push back against the serial stupidity. Now, mild responses aren't going to help here. Well-crafted statements, while nice to read, I could read right through them, and I've read through a couple on this show. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is a war against economic, environmental, and physical stupidity beyond belief. You've got to fight harder. You've got to take the fight. We don't need studies. We don't need studies about natural gas. Get another sip of tea. We don't need studies. Get the damn gas here. Drive energy costs down. Have better economic policy. That's what we need. We don't need pandering. We don't need respect for a process which isn't working. That does not mean that you are disrespectful. That does not mean that we're going to have 2 out of 3s in the fall, or we should have 2 out of 3s on the floor of the legislature. But damn it, call it for what it is. This is just terrible. And I'm going to stop this share. So basically, what it comes down to is it's simple beans. It is absolutely simple beans. The stupidity of energy policy and legislative policy in this state has driven up costs to an incredible level. And instead of people fighting back and pushing back, what are they doing? They keep feeding the monkey. They keep feeding the monkey. The monkey's turned into a gorilla. And once again, it's up to the citizen to push back and cause these legislators to say, you got to get this thing together, pal, or your butt is coming out of office. You know, you can't say you're representing people and even condone this amount of stupidity, this amount of energy stupidity and illogical mess in the least way. That's how serious things are now. I don't think the political class has seen it, but let me tell you, the citizen on the street is seeing this in spades. And let me also tell you that I'm Tony D'Angelo, and this is 30 with Tony. We'll be back with the rest of the show right after this.
It's a blue world without you. It's a blue world alone. My days and nights that once were filled with heaven, with you away, how empty they have grown. It's a blue world from now on. It's a through world for me. The sea, the sky, my heart and I, we're all an indigo hue. Without you, it's a blue world. It's a blue world from now on. It's a through world for me. The sea, the sky, my heart and I, we're all an indigo hue. Without you, it's a blue, blue world.
Well, thanks, Kemosabe's. Thanks for staying with us. Apropos of our earlier discussion, I would like to share something with you. I got into a discussion with a younger person this week, you know, someone whom I know and respect greatly. And he was sharing with me and with others the fact that he and his fiance cannot advance economically, and they cannot, you know, think about getting a home or putting savings aside or having a family or having children and, you know, maybe going out every once in a while, having a little bit of fun. You know, you're young, you're intelligent. The world should afford you that. in the United States of America. I'm sure that there are some that really do disagree with that, and will do everything they can to stop you from doing that. So I listened and I said, it's an interesting perspective, and one which I, in my particular age and stage, don't necessarily consider all the time. And I said, he's absolutely positively correct. Listen, none of us are going to be on this earth forever. And people come up, people mature to a high level, people retire, people demise and devolve. Now, the younger people in any strong society have got to have a means of achieving the American dream. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know what your local Batso commie social idiot politician thinks. As far as I'm concerned, people should rise to have the American dream. Now, the lie that's foisted upon a lot of young people is, well, you can't have the American dream. You need to have something affordable, and you need to have the government involved to make sure that nobody will take it away from you. And we create an underclass, which, of course, when you create an underclass, you make a lot of politicians very happy, because you will, in doing that, you're going to be creating minions that will probably vote for you every time you bring the peach basket into the neighborhood and start flinging a few things out. Now, not today's subject, but the whole thing of whatever you want to call it, gender affirming care. I'll keep it to that term. I have my own thoughts with that. When you mess up somebody's physiological structure, you damage them psychologically. When you damage them psychologically, they stand an excellent chance of becoming mentally ill. When they are mentally ill, they will become the wards and the supplicants of government, and government likes that very much. And they like to tear off on people like me who are opposed to it. But no extra charge for that, but think of that. Now, with that being as it is, and speaking to this dear young person, my wife, Kathy, is building a chicken coop, or shall I say, she is, commissioning others to help her in the assisting of building the chicken coop. So, in between my own labors, I walked out and was chatting with Kathy and the builder, a nice young man. And he was telling me the costs of wood, the costs of building material, the costs of transportation. And he was apologetic to me, saying, I'm sorry, this is so expensive, but we've got this, and this. Now, to me, at my, particular, whatever you want to call it, stage in life, having my wife have a chicken coop is a nice thing to do. And it's something she likes to do, and it's something I like to do for her. But to a young person who can't put a home together, they are put with the same economic constraints, same building material, same transportation, same tradespeople, same this, same that, same thing. So I'm just going to get another sip of tea. Thank you. For some reason, dry today. That all said, I saw something over the course of the weekend that really, I think, puts all of this together for you. If you think I am a maniac and you hate my guts for what I said about energy, I'm going to show you something where this is hitting home and this is destroying the roots of society. Now, maybe that's what certain political figures want to do. Little twisted, weak-minded, marionette puppeteers. Maybe that's what they want, because it is headed that way unless we get a hold on energy and low-cost energy and free government. Allow me to share. I'm going to go over to here, and I'm going to go over to here. This is a tweet. This is from our friends at Connecticut News and Opinion, and they were making a comment here. Connecticut is unaffordable. Connecticut is the worst state in the nation for renters. Monthly rents are going up faster than people's wages. and essential utilities and groceries are 19% higher than the normal average, CT Dems. Now, what I do not know is if the CT Dems are saying, oh, this is terrible, and I just wanted to call your attention to it because after all, we're the solution. I'm not going to open up the Hearst article. Most of it is pap and crap and nonsense anyway, so I don't bother. But it is not a statement of falsehood to say that Connecticut Democrats run around saying that, this is terrible and we've got to create economic opportunity for young people, not economic opportunity, but housing for young people. So let's have transit-oriented development. Think of every single thing that goes into a building where these lovely young people can live. All the materials, all of the products, all of the appliances necessary in order to live there, the fuel necessary for them to get to their jobs, the fuel necessary to run their utilities, the fuel necessary to make the plastics that are critical to their technology. It is all driven by fuel. The costs in the grocery store, which are just so insane, and you have idiots in the state Democratic Party saying, well, it's because the grocery people are, they're gouging people. It's like, please. I mean, should we reopen the mental institutions? That might be a good thing to do. But with that being as it is, it's not, it is the cost of fuel bringing the things there and the cost of fuel necessary in the packaging and in the production of that food that's causing food to go up. And you get Republicans who are saying, well, it's because of the fact that the Democrats are assaulting the business owners. We need to, quote unquote, make things easier for people and to have incentives, but yet when you say to them, have cheap fuel, they look at you like you have 6 heads. This young couple that we're looking at here, regardless of the political pandering, which is probably 90% Democrat or 85% Democrat and 15% Republicans, is never going to get out to produce where they need to produce until you make energy cheap, until you make it where they could get to work affordably and not in mass transit necessarily. Like somebody was telling me earlier that, it's nice to travel in your own car, assuming you could do so safely. That's a chancy proposition in Connecticut. I understand that. But yet it's a whole lot better in many cases than being on mass transit with people who should be incarcerated as mentally ill and given compassionate care or left out in the streets, basically, to harm the innocent, and the government does not care about that, and the government does not care about you. But that all being as it is, we're never going to get to that place until they can have affordable housing that they can own and they can have something to do with it, until we get fuel prices down. And how do we get fuel prices down? By the Trump energy package. I'm not shilling for Donald Trump. I'm 50-50 on Donald Trump, I'll tell you that. But I am going to tell you the things that work in economy, and his fuel package will work. His energy policy will work. I have gone to Republicans and I've said, and Republican experts saying, you got to get a hold of this. I've had them come to me, the ones that are better minded, saying, but I don't understand it. I'm like, and you want to run for office. Basically, it's simple beans. If your energy costs go down, there's more money in your pocket. If there's more money in your pocket, there's more you can do with it, and you can put things together, and you can have housing down payments, and you can think about a child, and you can think about a vehicle, and you can think about being a functional, vital part of the economy. You can see your grocery prices go down. You can see all that happening. Politicians, in this case, especially Republicans, have got to stop being pansies and cowards about energy policy. We need advocacy at this point. We need cheap fuel. If we don't have cheap fuel, this young couple is going to be sitting here on that couch forever and ever until they're my age. Until they're my age. Basically, we need some economic vision here in order to save America, in order to make it prosperous. And to get rid of the stupidity and the nonsense, which is in the state of Connecticut, I'm going to stop the share. Now, you might love what I just said. You might hate it. You might love me. You might hate me. Got to tell you the truth. If this past week, actually, and I had mentioned this on the Lee Elsey show, that the Trump proposal, if you will, of eliminating taxes on tips. I had some guy calling me all kinds of names. Oh, this and that. You're this. You're that. And he was a man of color. I said, great. Okay. Let's do a little. And he was an attorney. He was he said he was a fiscal conservative. I'm like, okay, great. All right. I assume you are, by your resume, an educated man. I don't know if you're a bot or not, but you appeared to have some credibility. Tell me what you would propose that's better. Haven't heard from him in days. That's the whole idea. It's you could sit there and have your little political posturing. You're this, you're that, you're cool, you're all this other stuff, and be essentially functionally useless. Or you can say something bold, risk your office, risk this little bubble you're in, and make a bold statement towards what is necessary for the state and for the country. And I know of too few political figures that are willing to do that. So guess what, gang? It's up to you. You got to make them do it. You got to make them do it by exposing him, by shaming him, and telling him you won't vote for him until they get on the stick. If you're watching this show and you're with me, you're on the stick. It's Tony D'Angelo here on 30 with Tony. We'll be back with the close of the show right after this.
Hello, fun seekers. Since we like to mix fun with business, please enjoy another video classic clip, courtesy of the producers of 30 with Tony.
For today's classic clip, we will take a look at the trailer for the horror at Party Beach, shot entirely in Stamford, Connecticut in 1964, and starring some well-known locals. The Horror at Party Beach is a 1964 American horror film in the beach party genre, directed and co-produced by Del Tenney. The film is described as a takeoff on beach parties and musicals. Near a small East Coast beach town, a boat dumps a 55-gallon metal drum labeled "Danger Radioactive Waste" into the ocean. The drum opens upon reaching the bottom, releasing its contents upon a sunken ship and a nearby human skeleton. The skeleton is transformed into an aquatic, humanoid monster. The monster immediately ambulates toward the beach, where a dance party featuring the Delary's musical group is in progress. Hank Green, an employee of local scientist Dr. Gavin, attends the beach party with Tina, his girlfriend. They quarrel, and Tina leaves him to flirt with Mike, the leader of a motorcycle gang. Meanwhile, Hank talks with Dr. Gavin's daughter, Elaine. After a series of events, including attacks on partygoers and travelers, Dr. Gavin discovers a chemical method for destroying the monsters: the application of plain old sodium. Named on several lists as one of the worst movies ever made, please enjoy this perfectly awful trailer.
While the beach set twists to the big beat sound of the Delaires, swinging out with 6 rocking hits. While the cycle gangs burn up the road and strong-arm their way into the party with fists flying. While teenagers prepare for a secluded slumber party, terror strikes from the bottom of the sea. An invasion of ghoulish atomic beasts who live off human blood.
Can they be killed? I don't know, Lieutenant.
They are the living dead. They're zombies.
Again and again, the fiendish monsters struck like nothing that ever stalked this earth. An entire city in the throes of panic, at the mercy of demons from the dead.
This is Sandy Cortez. Watch 30 with Tony every Thursday at 3 Eastern on Twitter and YouTube.
Well, thanks, Kemosabe's. Thanks for staying with us. You know, this segment gets a lot of people upset. So today I thought I would try a little poetry. The poem is The Skunk and the Pig. The skunk's a generous soul, they say. The pig is a greedy gent. The skunk will stick to you all the way and give you his last cent. But the pig, that no good dirty sneak, asked the skunk to steal. But the skunk refused to do so because he knew the pig would squeal. Anyways, Tony D'Angelo here at 30 with Tony. Thanks, Kemosabe's. Thanks for staying with us. Thank you so much for all that you do for me. We'll be back next week with an even better show. And as Dick Clark would say in American Bandstand, so long. God bless. Thank you.
To make you laugh, I'd play the fool for you. Although the people turn and stare, I'd give my everything to keep you, boy. Oh, it breaks my heart when you're not there. I'll stage a ballet on a tabletop. Command performance, finger size. Though I ain't got no tune, my show won't flop. 'Cause I'll find the music in your eyes. Oh me, oh my, I'm a fool for you, baby.